Welcome back, Trekkie friends, to another Hailing Frequencies, good, bad, and batshit. This week, looking at the latest Lower Deck Season 4 episode, A Few Badges More. I'm one of your hosts, Stu, and don't call it a comeback, but he's come back.
I've been here for years. I'm the other host, Alastair, back to Hailing Frequencies this week to talk about A Few Badgeys More. Stu, how's it going?
Very, very well, thank you. How about you? Did you have a nice time off?
Fantastic time away. Thank you very much. Yeah, and I have been enjoying digging into the episodes that you episodes that you recorded in my absence last week. So nice work with them. I have already done the short treks one, and I'm looking forward to the lower decks one. I just caught up with the episode itself for lower decks, and what an amazing episode. I thoroughly enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys had to say about it.
Absolutely. What did you think of I mean, we're not doing a review of Very Short Treks, the final episode, but a thumbs up or a thumbs down for the final Very Short Treks?
Oh, I'm all over the place thanks to being away. So I've actually listened to your review before I've watched the Very Short Treks.
Oh, right. Oh, you haven't seen it yet. Okay.
So I actually need to go and watch it. Yeah.
Right.
So viewers, you have that to look forward to next week when you'll get my very belated and thoughts on the last Very Short Trek.
Well, we shall very much look forward to that, and perhaps you didn't heed what is about to come up now, as we do every week, because we need to go to Red Alert, because we will be including spoilers in this episode for Season 4, Episode 7. Oh, get it right.
Yeah. I panicked there for a second. Yeah.
The one that is called A Few Badges More, Episode 7, Season 4 of Lower Deck. So so if you haven't watched that episode yet, pause the video, go away and watch it, and come back and look at this. Or if, like Alastair, you're not bothered about not getting spoilers, great.
Yeah.
You've been warned. That's it. Hey, before we get on to Lower Decks, though, it's been quite the eventful few days, has it not?
It sure has. I got to send you a really exciting message the other day, Stu. I don't know if had you seen the news already before I got that message to you, or was I quick off the mark with it?
You were the one who broke it to me, so
Yay.
Share it with our viewers.
So the news is that Lower Decks has found a new home on
Lower Decks
Netflix.
Has a home.
No, did I just say Lower Decks? Oh, still getting brain back into gear. Star Trek Prodigy. Star Trek Prodigy has found a home on Netflix, which is great. Great to see it saved from cancellation. Season 1's going up there. Season 2 is coming up apparently soon on it. And with the big fan campaign to find it a new home elsewhere, just lovely to see that come to pass. A little bit strange that it's now on Netflix, given that, of course, here in the UK, new Star Trek basically started off on Netflix, and then Paramount Plus came into being and said, we're going to be the home of all Star Trek, which I don't think they ever really quite managed at any single moment. However, they certainly weren't the home of all Star Trek when they effectively semi-axed Prodigy and decided to ship it around elsewhere instead. And so a bit bizarre that now, after removing lots of Star Trek from Netflix to be the home to it all, Paramount Plus have sent Prodigy packing back to Netflix. What were your thoughts on the? I mean, obviously, I'm imagining you'll be happy to see Prodigy save, Stu, but what's your thoughts on the whole story here?
So it's I think it's really complicated, and I suspect I don't know, I'm not privy to any information, pure speculation now, but I suspect that there is something more to it going on. Because let's not forget, Star Trek Prodigy wasn't just a Paramount production. It was made in collaboration with Nickelodeon. And I'm wondering if that collaboration has got messy somehow. If that's the case, then probably nobody from Paramount would be allowed to talk about it and why it's messy and things like that, because they have been notoriously silent about the whole thing. So it'll be really interesting when it does come onto Netflix. First of all, so as you rightly said, we're getting season 1, first of all. Fingers crossed later this year on Netflix. It'd be interesting if it's got the Nickelodeon logo still.
Yes, that's a good point.
I'll be watching specifically for that. Assuming it does, because Nickelodeon were part of the people making season 1. Season 2 will be interesting if that's in collaboration with Nickelodeon. That's kind of, that's where I'm thinking. I do think, Paramount calling themselves the home of Star Trek, kind of, and then dropping Prodigy. Yeah, that's just a dick move.
Yeah,
but I suspect that in time, once dust has settled, we'll probably find out there is far more to this story than we've ever known.
Good thoughts, Stu. Yes, I look forward to reading a book in 20 years' time about this era of Star Trek and learning all the all the secrets about what went on with Star Trek Prodigy.
I look forward to us talking about it on this channel in 20 years' time. So,
Yeah. We can do a flashback to this moment when we get there.
I'll do a virtual link
previously on
the hologram on the holodeck.
If you're watching in 20 years' time, click the link below to skip to our episode where we talk about the book that came out. And anyway, moving on. Shall we turn our attention to a few Badgeys More, or in fact, there's another Star Trek topic that we could have a quick chat about first, which is the new game that's coming up.
Yeah, Star Trek Infinite. Now this is a game from I believe they're called 4X. Is it 4X or X4?
4X sounds right to me. I was, I have seen about this game, but I think I'm not as well informed as you. I'm an old Birth of the Federation fan, which was the kind of Civilization, Master of Orion type Star Trek game way back in the late 90s, I think, where you ran one of the Star Trek civilizations and usually the Borg showed up and killed everyone. But I don't know as much about the new kind of this new grand strategy title. So fill me in, Stu. What's going on with it?
Well, I've not. So holding up my hands, I've not played it myself. This is kind of, my opinion is formulated from reading other people's opinions and seeing some gameplay and game playthroughs and what have you. So to start with, it is buggy as crap, which is kind of just not acceptable, I don't think, in this day and age. I mean, we had Resurgence, put back, and yes, that was frustrating, but they did that so it wouldn't be buggy. and I think that was the right move. So yeah, so that's disappointing. But basically, kind of doing a very, very short version of this, it's basically Stellaris. So I think for those people who love Stellaris and love Star Trek, it's going to be a dream come true game once they've sorted out the bugs. For those of us who don't like our gameplay by spreadsheets, yeah, not so much.
Yeah.
You know, I like Star Trek
nice
Bridge
summary.
Crew still. You know, I'm very hands-on with my gameplay.
Yeah, Bridge Crew. Yeah, I'm trying to think what other. There's been so many, digital game adaptations of Star Trek over the years. I remember having great fun on. Do you remember Star Trek Elite Force, the Voyager kind of shooter that they brought out in the early 2000s?
Yes,
that was great fun.
I couldn't. I was crap at it.
Yeah, the online lobbies were brutal. But yeah, I've not played many of the more recent. I really enjoyed watching you play. Was that Resurgence? That was Resurgence.
That was Resurgence. Yeah, the first hour of that.
Your playthrough video of that was really fun to watch. But
I'll be honest, I haven't actually played any more of it since then. Life's just getting in the way. I'm doing a playthrough. This is not a streamed one, but I'm doing a playthrough of the Prodigy game at the moment.
Oh, nice.
I'm
okay,
getting through that quite well.
Thumbs up for it so far, Stu.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's one of those games. It's aimed at kids, but I think there's it's engaging enough, and the puzzle solving is not too simple that it doesn't offer entertainment for those of us who are simply young at heart.
And it's Star Trek as well, so it's got to be done. Yeah.
And of course, Star Trek Online, which we could talk about for hours and hours and hours.
Yes, I have. I've even played a bit of Star Trek Online, so and it's always great to see the names from the current and past iterations of Star Trek cropping up in that and doing content for it, and it does seem to be a bit of a good sort of ancillary bit of the Star Trek universe that provides work to people who have been involved with the franchise. So good on it for that, and it's a real treat for the fans to see some of those names showing up as well.
Oh, definitely. And the storylines for me are the absolute best bit. So having a Vija storyline that included Will Wheaton, I won't give spoilers here.
Yeah.
Let's get on to spoilers for Lower Decks, though, instead.
Okay, we're even at Red Alert for that, so yeah.
Oh, so, done the Red Alert. We're there. We're up to speed.
A few Badgeys More, Stu. What do you think of this episode?
I went into it with a huge amount of trepidation. Unpopular opinion, I'm not much of a Badgie fan. To me, Badgie was a bit of a one-note joke that was stretched probably a little bit beyond its limit already. So seeing the title come up, a few Badges More, it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
Sorry, I preempted your question then.
You did indeed, but it was great to hear that you were pleasantly surprised by it. What were the good bits that jumped out that changed your mind about a Badgie episode here?
Okay, so I don't have any honourable mentions. I've just got one good, and I've got to say, well, no, actually, I have sort of three good points because I've only written one, but I've got three good points. And my main good point, my headline good point is Agamus. Jeffrey Combs, always a delight, but Agamus, lots of fun. And the blue light thing, really tickled me.
Yeah, top of my list as well. Jeffrey Combs' Agamus, just an absolute treat. Obviously we think of him as in person, a non-voice actor, a general actor in his many appearances across many versions of Star Trek. But his voice work is so good in this episode. I'd be very happy to see him do more in the animated worlds of Star Trek in franchises to come. Brilliant work. Very, very funny. And yeah, I love the blue light gag as well. It's a good one.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that about Jeffrey Combs with his voice. So there is so he has an excellent pedigree when it comes to theatre as well as screen work. He's a phenomenal theatre actor. And they say that to get the best results from voice acting is to do it as if you're like to physically act out the part, but to big it up, to amplify it. Now, there's a tendency towards having to do that for theatre work. So I think he's brought those skills to the table with this. And yeah.
I was not aware that he had done a lot on stage as well, but it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yeah, that all fits together. And good to see that we're on the same page again. The big bullet point, good point for both of us being the same thing this week. What else did you have on your good list, Stu?
So, well, I've got a good point for you.
Oh, okay.
Because didn't you want to see a team up with the bad robots?
I really wanted to see this season. I felt it had been teased, and I think, if memory serves, the name of this one actually threw me off a little bit. I thought that this might be like a solo Badgey episode, and that we wouldn't get Peanut Hamper and Agamus in this one. So wasn't sure what to expect, but yeah, this was great. Like I think it just makes a lot. I actually very much see where you're coming from on the idea that Badgey is a character joke that's maybe stretched a little thin, and I think the other AIs as well. We had episodes that felt that they explored them quite a bit previously, and I think that throwing all three of them into a single episode actually really lightened the load on all of those AI characters individually, and left it feeling less stretched and more enjoyable with the little bit of time we got with each of them. So very pleased to see it. It's sad that my theory is now completely out the window that the AI are behind the attacks on the various ships that are going on. But nice to see them involved in providing some intelligence information about what's going on with that.
Well, yes, and that leads nicely into my last good point, which is about the mystery ship. Turns out we are freaking geniuses.
Well, I will absolutely yield this that really, Stu, you are the genius here, because you're the one who has been calling this for a long time on where are they being taken rather than being destroyed, and it turns out you are quite right.
So that's I think it was becoming more and more obvious as time came on, to be fair. But it was a nice moment, that. How about you? What other good bits did you have from this?
Split Badgey personalities. I really like the idea of Good-G and Logic-y. Logic-G? I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fun little idea, and I actually loved. There's a lot of little moments where you see Good-G or Logic-y in the background of scenes, just doing really stupid expressions that are very representative of their personality, and it's some nice little funny moments hiding in the background of scenes for them. And just a nice riff on the very classic Star Trek idea of using emotion or logic and messing around with the mind of AI to try and defeat it. And fun to see split Badgie happen as a result of that. So yeah, that made my good list as well.
There's this is one it nearly made my batshit list, but it didn't. So I'm happy to mention it now. But that whole split thing with Badgie, there's an old movie from the 80s that I remember really well called Altered States. And it's a sci-fi movie. It's kind of an almost Jekyll and Hyde type movie, but with lots more science. And there was when Badgie was kind of splitting off into the two, and the two were sort of pulling away from each other. That was really reminiscent of Altered State. So it felt like it was kind of almost a little homage to that.
Nice. That went over my head a bit, so I'm not familiar with the film. So good catch on that. And talking of batshit things, what made you batshit this week, Stu?
Well, do we want to talk about bad first?
Okay, let's do bad first. Do you want to lead us off on bad, or do you want me to?
Well, I have two items. How many you got?
I've got two as well. So you go for it. Let's see if we've got the same ones at all.
I'll give you my first. The Cerritos, when it's being attacked by the Drukmani, they say, Shaq says, should I fire back? Well, that was quite a good impression. I'm quite impressed with that.
That was good, yeah. Very good.
They should have fire back. And Captain Freeman says, no, there's innocent Drukmani there, or something along those lines. Can't phasers target weapons arrays? How many times have we seen, in Star Trek, the ship will they'll target the engines or target the phaser arrays or, Yeah. So not firing back at all seemed like a bit of a bullshit plot point. It seemed like a bit of poor writing.
Yeah. It's not on my list.
Not often I say that about Lower Decks. I feel unclean now.
No, but actually, I mean, it's not on my list, and I think that in general, that kind of complaint about Lower Decks often goes over my head, or just doesn't sort of stick with me as much as it probably does for some fans. But even I can see that specific instance. You're absolutely right. It's not consistent with what we've seen in Star Trek in terms of how they use weapons, in a way that's very obvious. And in general, as much as I love Lower Decks, there are definite moments where, given it's meant to be canon, there's some very fast and loose decisions about how things are being written. So yeah, not on my list, but I totally agree with you, Stu.
Okay. What's one of your bad points?
So I was a little bit disappointed with the peanut hamper twist of Peanut Hamper is just actually totally reformed, basically, in the end. And I felt like it was almost as though they I wasn't convinced. I wasn't convinced that Peanut Hamper would be the AI that was completely reformed by their stint in incarceration, and that Peanut Hamper would go along with Agamis's ruse just to get attention from him, and I don't know. It didn't click with me. It didn't work for me. So yeah, that was what was one of my things that I sort of thought was a little bit underwhelming this week.
Didn't fit what we know of Peanut Hamper.
Yeah, out of character. It was a nice, it was an ending to it was an ending to that story. You got to see a fun little side of Agamis doing the meet the parents thing, but
yeah,
I felt it just came a little bit out of nowhere and didn't didn't sort of gel for me with what we've seen of Peanut Hampers so far. So, what was your second bad point, Stu?
okay. So Badgie and Gudgy and Logicy. How were they able to manifest when they weren't inside a fucking holodeck?
He talks about having holo emitters installed throughout the ship early in the episode.
Oh, okay. I withdraw that one completely. I missed that. Who says that?
I think it's Rutherford who explicitly says, how are you here? And and Badgie turns around and says, I've put salvaged holo emitters over the ship, and then he kind of blinks around the room once or twice to sort of illustrate the point. So
okay.
Yeah, but, I mean,
Does
as often,
the shuttle bay as well of the Cerritos? Or are we
in the shuttle bay again?
Assume that. It was at the end when they're trying again with the grappler on the Yosemite.
Yeah, I suppose to give it the benefit of the doubt, you'd have to presume that because Rutherford is chatting away with him and seems to have taken him under his wing, and that he would have had to facilitate his presence in that scene by using a mobile emitter, but they don't say it, so yeah, fair point. Yeah.
No, I'll stand corrected though on that bad point. Okay.
I bet
I missed a line of dialogue.
It's easily done. I mean, Lower Decks moves so quickly, doesn't it? That I think we both had things in our episodes so far where one of us is going, hold on a second, who, where did that happen? Who said that? So, and it's very sort of blinking you'll miss it stuff. The mention of the whole emitters. So, I bet you could probably guess my second bad point given the time to try and guess it in. So. Because it's also my bad point about the previous episode that I wasn't here for last week that I otherwise thoroughly enjoyed, which is after an episode where it's a very big deal that Tulin has decided to stay with the Cerritos, who have we not seen for 2 episodes?
Yeah.
I'm staying, yay! I'm not here at all. I really, it's probably very obvious from these episodes now that I'm a huge Tulin fan, so I'm always happy to see her on screen. But I really feel just with how they are using that character in this season, particularly, that she probably should be in every episode, even if some episodes are just 1 or 2 lines here or there. It's come off as particularly weird these last couple of weeks because of that big character episode, to then just have her completely missing just doesn't feel right. So that was one of my grumbles for this week was no Tulin, and the same for last week, and just that feeling very strange off the back of a big celebration of her choosing to stay with the Cerritos.
That's that's absolutely a fair call, and yeah, conspicuous by her absence, I suppose. Do you think it's possible that they might have done that deliberately for some reveal in later on in the season?
would love it to be the case, and I don't think it's totally impossible, but I'm skeptical. I feel like they probably sort of Lower Decks has actually does have quite a large ensemble cast, and it's easier to overlook that sometimes because we've got the four main characters who we're following a bit more closely than the ensembles we've seen in classic Trek of Next Generation or Deep Space Nine or something, where you're following many characters. With Lower Decks, you're focused on those main four, but it then makes it easy to forget that you actually do spend a lot of time with the bridge crew and the joke from previous week about the counselor not realizing that he was beloved by Tandy and Rutherford, and there's so many characters to fit in and to play with, and unfortunately I think for T'Lyn it's more of a case of them saying, well, T'Lyn got her big episode, we've done that big story, we can drop her from these couple of episodes so we can spend more time with other characters. But I just think it's a bit of an ill-judged time to do it. Yeah,
fair. That's fair. I know a lot of people are big T'Lyn fans.
Yeah, she seems to have. I love to see it. Yeah.
And a lot of people have been shipping T'Lyn. Who would you ship T'Lyn with?
I was going to say, who do we ship T'Lyn with? Is there like a T'Lyn Tandy ship? I can see that being a thing.
Ooh.
Is that the internet ship?
People shipping Boimler with T'Lyn.
Okay. Yeah.
And shipping Mariner with T'Lyn.
Not
heard about shipping Tandy with T'Lyn. I like the idea of that.
I feel like that's it's a possibility there. But we can't find out unless we see more of her on screen with which to speculate about these things. So come on, Paramount. Maybe next season. Maybe next season a step up to weekly cast member would be nice to see. And as I say, it doesn't have to be on complete parity with the big four characters for Lower Decks. Some of those episodes could be a line or two here or there, but I think we are at a point with that character now where I think the good outweighs the bad with making that decision and just saying, yeah, she's there week in, week out. And yeah, hopefully the fan response gets it there.
I'm going to make a big T'Lyn prediction right here.
Okay, what's the prediction, Stu?
That T'Lyn will be the big savior at the end of episode 10. However, I predict that she'll be back on the Vulcan ship.
Do you have any insight?
I know that Vulcan ship got destroyed by the mystery ship, didn't it? But we know the crew's still alive, so I'm going to alter my prediction slightly. I think T'Lyn will be the big savior, and I think that will lead to her being offered the opportunity to go back to the Vulcans, that I suspect she will turn down. And that'll be her character arc. It is. Didn't want to be there too, wants to be there.
Yeah, it would bring a really nice closure to that for the season, wouldn't it? I could definitely see that. It seems like a good guess to me. I have a very quick
go on.
Honorable mention for this one, which is that I didn't feel that it was appropriate for any other category. I just loved that the Binars were in this episode. Binars Lower Decks was an amusing few seconds. Just about the right amount of time. Nice to see that call back to Next Generation and the Binars.
Oh, definitely, and I loved seeing the Binar ship.
Yes, yeah,
that was an absolute treat as well. And I'm going to confess, so as the Binars were speaking, I made an audio recording of it. I have been playing around with that audio recording, playing it in reverse, playing it at various speeds to see if I can work out how. No, I can't make. energy and ship from it
Oh,
in reverse at about 50%, 50% speed. So
I mean,
slowed
good,
down.
yeah, good catch still, Stu. Even a couple of
But
words. I'm impressed.
yeah, but I was really struggling. And I also ran it through a variety of filters as well to, isolate voices and to enhance voices. Yeah, I really, really struggled.
Well, I say good work getting the couple of words you did out of it. And someone working on the show, let poor Stu know in the comments if there is actually more to decipher, or if it's just like, random helium noises going on in
Yeah.
the recording.
Tell me how to reverse
Yeah.
engineer the sound production. Damn it.
Well,
Oh,
I have a feeling that our batshit section is possibly going to be a little bit longer than usual here. I've got a couple of things, but do you want to lead us off with what's on your list?
I only have the one.
What was your one?
Badgie ascending towards the koala and mentioning the Black Mountain and cute bananas. That's
Yeah,
about shit. I thought that was an interesting because that's and yeah, kind of batshit. The whole koala thing is like really recurring quite a lot now.
yeah. It's obviously. I feel at this point it's very clearly meaningfully leading somewhere. It's not just an eccentric recurring gag that is not going to have any sort of real impact. And you mean I was as a big Twin Peaks fan, I was very interested in the use of kind of lodge imagery from that show in the vision that Boimler has of the koala and mountain near death, and the fact that the koala's speech played backwards delivered a message, as in Twin Peaks as well. Um, it was really interesting. Sort of, yeah, fascinating to see the koala make an unlikely appearance with Badgie this week. Yeah, that was so. Yeah, one of my batshit listings as well too.
Excellent. What have you? That's one of yours. What else you got?
So I know we've touched on this already, but the other thing I had down was this revelation that the ships are being taken and not destroyed by the oh, we still don't know what it is. The ship with tremendous capabilities of some sort that has been well, we now know capturing, I guess, removing the various ships that we've seen the lower decks sketches start many of these episodes this season off with, and I think you're right to say it was getting more obvious. We did have that one episode there where we both sort of sat and said, well, it really looked like there was an explosion. It looked like people were being killed here. So I wasn't totally all in on they're being taken, even though I did feel it was leaning more in that direction. So the confirmation of that this week I felt was a good batshit moment. I was just like, whoa, that was that's a pretty definite big reveal in this season, and it definitely throws more confusion on who is behind the actions of this ship that's confiscating these vessels. Yeah.
So we've seen Klingons. Oh, I said the Vulcan ship had been destroyed. No, it hasn't. It was a Romulan ship.
Yeah.
Klingons. I know Orions.
Yeah.
Binars.
Ferengi?
Ferengi. Thank you. Yes. And it seemed like the Ferengi had already done a deal, or one of the Ferengi had done a deal with them as
Yes.
well. I think that's it, isn't it? That's five.
I think that covers. So there has been 1 or 2 weeks where the ship hasn't appeared, where they've not done the lower decks attack bit with the anonymous ship. Um, yeah.
Hmm.
Any guesses that you want to throw in at this point, Stu, as to what's going on now that we have a little bit more information?
The only guess I can throw at this is that we've kind of had a clue with the Moopsy episode, and that it is some kind of somebody forming some sort of menagerie.
It would be very sort of classic Trek twist if that was the case. Yeah, I can
mean,
see
yeah, you
that.
can't get much more classic than the pilot episode of
Oh yeah,
the original
the pilot idea.
series.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
I'm thinking something along those lines. Might even be the Telosians, you know. They are incredibly advanced.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was very interesting, that little detail that you know you mentioned there, that it seemed like the Ferengi had one of the Ferengi had struck a deal with with the vessel. It suggests that there is a crew in the vessel. I know that one thing that we've talked about is could it be AI? Could it be? I think we even touched on there could be a natural entity of some sort at one point as well. And if there's a bargain being struck by a Ferengi with presumably someone inside operating or whatever, yeah, that maybe points towards an intelligent being of some sort being there. But yeah, very mysterious still. And as I say, this week's episode firmly put paid to my idea of who is behind it. So I'm back to my drawing board on what's going on with that.
Yeah, I think if I had to name a race that we have come across, I'm going with the Telosians now. That's my yeah. That's where I feel.
Do you think that there could be a link to the koala and the Black Mountain? Do you think the two things are going to play into each other somehow? They are the kind of the two long running things throughout this season, so you know, it almost feels like they could tie off the season with both of them.
No, I just think that's the koala's just a big metaphor for, you know, a higher spiritual plane. The Black
Okay.
Mountain thing is obviously a metaphor for death. Um, yeah, yeah. I yeah, I suspect. Yeah, I suspect not.
I guess we'll find out soon. You know, there's only 3 weeks to go for this
Three
season.
more episodes to go. Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have any more batshit moments from this one?
No, that's me out. Have you got anything else on the
Okay.
list this week?
Not on the batshit side, but what about favorite lines?
Favorite lines. There were quite a few to choose from in this episode. I went with I think the line is, "I'm going to need a plan that doesn't require human sacrifice," from Captain Freeman, as Rutherford is like running to throw himself into space to go and solve the Badgie problem.
Yeah.
It's just one of those ones where you think, how many Starfleet captains have we seen that go through their mind and not say it out loud over the over the years of the various shows? So yeah, that one tickled me this week. I like that. What about you, Stu?
So I've got two. One of them is a semi-batshit moment. It's when Badgie says, "I see you've sacrificed yourself for your crew." Instantly put me in mind of Clippy, the paperclip helper on Microsoft. I see you're writing a CV. I see you're writing a letter. I see you've sacrificed yourself for your crew. Just, yeah, that was
what a brilliant catch!
Great
catch! Great catch, Stu. I hadn't noticed that choice of wording, and you're absolutely 100% correct that it must be a homage to that. So love it.
I'm showing my age. That's what it is.
I remember
these
that
references.
little bastard too. Don't worry.
I remember the 70s. Yes, but for me, the best line in the whole episode What I really need to subjugate is my feelings. Lord Tyrannokilicus.
It was good. There were a couple of really good evil AI therapy lines in this one.
Yeah.
It was quote rich this episode this week. So yeah, we were spoiled for choice, but good picks.
Definitely was. So overall, that's one of your, would you say it's one of your top 3 episodes so far of the season?
I thought it was good. I I really liked the episode that I missed, one that I wasn't here for. The Ferengi episode from last week, I think, was in my top 3 episodes of the season, along with obviously the Tulin episode as well, and probably the Orion wedding episode as well. I think that might be my 3 favorites so far for this season. I really enjoyed this one, but I think it's like just underneath my favorites for the season so far. What about you, Stu?
Okay. This, for me, I'm going to be honest, was the low point episode. This of the 7 we've had so far this season, this would rank number 7. But it was still, that's not to say it was a bad episode. I was kind of bracing myself with the whole Badgie thing. And I was pleasantly surprised. But kind of, if the episode hadn't happened, other than the, reveal of information about the mystery ship, I wouldn't have missed out.
Interesting way to put it. Yeah. I'm trying to sort of cast my mind back to all the episodes we've had so far. Perhaps it's a good thing to do with our last episode of the season is a little our breakdown of how we would order them all in the season,
Right.
and I can do my homework before then and remind myself of everything we've seen.
I think that's a brilliant idea, but I'll tell you what, let's wait until the week after the last one drops to give it time to sit in.
Good plan. That sounds excellent to me.
That can be episode 11 of Lower Decks is our rankings.
Yeah, let's do it.
Fantastic. Well, we've got caves to look forward to now. Oh, one point of interest. The star dates for this season are wrong.
Oh.
So you'll know from Star Trek Livingston, I'm like Mr. Meticulous about the whole Stardate thing. I did once on one episode of Livingston get it horrifically wrong, but I corrected it the next week. I am like really anal retentive about Stardates. So when we were given the Stardate of the Binars being taken, I converted it to the way that we write our dates. Now, bear in mind that season 1 of Lower Decks was set in 2380. So season 2 is 81, season 3 is 82, this season is 83. The star date was given as 58934.9, which translates to 5:43 a.m. on the 8th of December, 2381. So 2 years out.
And 2 years early, right, Stu?
Yeah, it's 2 years earlier. Yeah.
I wonder what led to that. And that was this episode specifically?
Yes, that was specific.
The star dates have been good for the rest of the season, have they?
Oh, no. So they've been consistent with this episode, but for example, Tuvix was 58724.3. We didn't have any for I Have No Bones Yet I Must Flee. Then in the Cradle of Vexilon was 58759.1. We didn't have any for the next two. And last week's Path Ferengi's Heart Place was 58901.5. So they're being consistent with themselves, but it just doesn't track their 2 years out with their calculations. Now, Star Trek itself is famously inconsistent with its star dates. And when it comes to the original series, don't even bother, because they're just like, they've just made up literally just numbers picked out of thin air when they wrote them. It wasn't until the Next Generation that they actually started applying a bit of common sense and logic to them. But even then, they did get things wrong quite often. So, yeah. But I thought that was an interesting... I think it's interesting anyway, whether our listeners do or not.
I think one of the things that is really interesting about it is that they've got it right for all the seasons prior to this one, and then there's something's happened here where that hasn't continued, and that seems a bit mysterious. And at first I was like, oh, is there a possibility that this is intentional, or we're going to be hit with a real curveball about why this has happened? But actually, hearing your breakdown of things there, it sounds like it probably is just an oversight on the writer's part. But unusual, obviously.
I'm going to say, when I scan over the earlier start dates from season 1, no, it all seems to be consistent with itself. So Second Contact, for instance, was 57436.2. Let me, while we're recording, let me get that converted. I use a handy online converter because I'm not smart enough to do it in my head. So yeah, 57436.2. This was the episode Second Contact, the first ever Lower Decks, was June the 8th, 2380. So, one of two things is happening. Either the force, they're not increasing them fast enough, or this is the more likely one, the 4 seasons that we've had have happened over 2 years.
2 years, yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
It would be unusual for Star Trek to do that. But then we're only looking at 10 episodes a season, aren't we?
Yes.
Rather than 20. So if the space of time between each episode is the same as it would be for the Next Generation, say, roughly.
So I think you've got it. That makes sense. That makes sense to me.
That's a hell of a lot of things to happen in a very short space of time. That said, Star Trek Livingston. So I calculated how much time has been on ship since the crew first joined the ship. Do you know how much time has taken place?
I'm presuming you're saying that it's going to be a lot shorter than I would guess it was. Because you've done
3 years,
what season?
4 years.
I was going to say, what season are we on to with Livingston now? So okay,
got to be season 3 or 4.
Yeah. Okay. So spill the beans, Stu. How long has actually passed?
About 5 months. A lot's happened in that 5 months.
It has been a really busy 5 months.
And for our viewers who follow Star Trek Livingston, keep your eyes peeled, because we will be having another episode. We've had a bit of a hiatus, but we will be back on the 18th of October. And with a very, very, very special episode. You definitely don't want to miss it. I'm saying no more because, players watch.
I'm right here.
Right.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
Well, that's gone down plenty of a rabbit hole with star dates. Far more than I intended, but I find them interesting anyway. But join us next week for another one of these, episode 8, Caves. Any thoughts about what Caves about?
Hopefully those rock monsters meant an Enterprise, or they were hallucinations right in the end. They were a good laugh. Bring them back.
Oh yes, yes. That one could be Horters.
That's true. Maybe both. Just I can, lower decks. I have faith you can pull off like every monster we've seen in a cave that was indigenous to it in a single cave. Let's do it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Could be the caves of the mind. Didn't Mariner make a reference to a sentient cave that she got stuck in once?
Yes. Yeah.
That's a cave that knows things, I think was the line.
Maybe we'll get a return to that previous chapter in her life in this episode.
Maybe. And let's hope we see Sumter Lynn.
Who's crossed?
Yes.
Come on. We can't celebrate her choosing to stay if she's not there.
Well, until that point, take care, everyone. Peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.